Introducing Zach Davis and Josh Anderson with the SoundMoney Podcast.
200 yards. I can shoot 200. He's like, no, none of these guns won't kill him that far away. You gotta be closer. I'm like, look, there's no way to get closer to this bear because he'd kind of gotten up on the hillside and we were out of cover. So if we'd have moved any farther, now all of a sudden he was going to see us and either eat us or he was going to run away. And neither of those options were options that we wanted. So I convinced him, like, look, I'm telling you, this rifle will do it. Like, I've shot it 200 yards. It's accurate. I can hit where I'm shooting. He's like, it'll never go through him. Like, you stuff will kill him. Like, I promise it'll kill him. So he's like, okay, fine, you can do it. So we lay down there. The bear comes out. I shoot. It's a perfect hit. Bear turns and like, it's crazy because these bears are on the attack all the time. They're like looking for something to beat up.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the SoundMoney Sound Principles Podcast. My name is Josh Anderson here today with Zach Davis. How are you, Zach?
I'm good, Josh.
Man, today is exciting. We apologize to listeners. It's been a few weeks since we've been together. You and I have been all over the world in opposite directions. And it was just impossible for us to get together for a couple of weeks. And so we're excited to be here today and to take a few minutes and share something that's special to us. Zach, the listeners have requested over and over that we share a few more of our adventures in the world. These are just to us kind of normal things, right? But apparently in the world, they're not normal things. And so there've been a lot of requests to share some of our other, what the world would consider to be an adventure around the world that we've gone on. And so today we're gonna share with the listeners our experience in chasing the majestic, wild coastal brown bears of Alaska. A lot of people call those, brown bears. Some people, the nickname for these bears is Kodiak brown bears. They live up on Kodiak Island. They live in the coastal peninsula of Alaska, or they live across the Shelikof Strait in Russia, right? That's the three places that they actually live in the world. And you and I, just a few years ago right now, actually, I think it's pretty close to, in a couple of weeks, it'll be just a couple of years. We were there. You hunt these bears in the early spring when they come out of hibernation in Alaska. Zach, tell everybody a little bit about describe for the listeners that don't hunt and don't have any idea what a coastal brown bear is. Just kind of give us what is a coastal brown bear?
Okay, so most people have heard of like a grizzly bear. So the different varieties, you have a brown bear, right, which is a pretty docile bear. Those are all over the United States. They're in the Northeast in New York and Vermont and all those types of areas. Over here in the West, Montana. But they're pretty docile bear, pretty small, 5 foot, 6 foot bears, pretty good sized bear. Then you have grizzly bears. Those are the ones that eat people. So if you read the stories about Montana or Yellowstone National Park, the hikers going out hiking, those are the ones that are always attacking people, eating them. And then all the animal activists online, the ones that are like, yay, I'm glad the bears ate the people. They shouldn't be in the woods anyway. That's those bears. Okay, and they're like
grizzly bears. And how big
yes.
would a grizzly weigh, and how many feet is it?
So a grizzly bear, you're probably 7 foot, 8 foot bear, but they're probably, I don't know, 900 pounds. I mean, I've seen, black bears back east will get 600-700 pounds. Here they could get 400 or 500 pounds, 600 pounds. But a grizzly bear is probably around 700-800 pounds. And then there's the big cousin, which is the brown bear. They're huge. Like a big brown bear is over 10 feet. So if you think about like a big tall guy, okay, you're a sports guy.
Yeah.
How tall is the tallest NBA player?
Like 7 foot, right?
Okay. So like 3 feet taller than the tallest NBA player. And I think there's one called the football player they used to call him the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Doesn't even come close to the mass of what one of these bears are. I mean, they are huge. And they're probably, I don't know, 1,000 pounds. I bet they can get
1,000, 1,200 pounds. And their wingspan, right? That's what you got to realize. A coastal brown bear, when their claws to claws, when they stretch out, is 10 feet, 10 and a half feet. Massive. When they stand up on their hind legs, they're more than 10 feet tall. So that's what a coastal brown bear is. So
And their
so Zach,
their paws are like.
yeah,
Well, I'll show you a picture here in a minute. But like so the bear that I took, his paw was literally bigger than my chest. Now, I'm not a big guy, but that's
you're not a
still
big guy,
really
but
big,
but
right? Like
it's still 2 feet.
I'm
right?
half the size of a brown bear. I'm 5'5".
Yeah.
I'm half the size of a brown bear and 145, 150 pounds.
So
Dripping
maybe
wet.
maybe to set the stage, Zach, in the hunting world, right? In the adventure world, what is it about a coastal brown bear, nicknamed a Kodiak bear, right? What is it about hunting one of those that is the allure for most outdoor enthusiasts like ourselves? What's the allure of that?
I think it's just it's the idea of who really is the apex predator. Like nothing kills a brown bear. Like they are the top of the food chain in that world, right? And they're massive and they're actually beautiful animals and majestic. And I mean the place that they live is like crazy on the coastlines. But it's kind of that adrenaline rush, I think, for most people, knowing that you have to get close enough because the size of caliber of rifle that you typically hunt a brown bear with needs to be a big caliber, which means you're not shooting it at long distances because it's a heavy projectile, so it has a lot of drop, right? So you need to get pretty close proximity to these animals, and their 10-foot wingspan with a paw that size and claws that long, they take one swipe, and I mean you're basically cut in half. So I think it's kind of that adrenaline rush of can you be the apex predator and can you survive?
Yeah, and I think that's for me, right? That's the allure of going and living with these animals is they are the apex predator. They are the king of the Klondike. They're the king of the peninsula. Nothing scares them, right? They have no fear. There's one thing about all animals in nature almost always have fear, but a coastal brown bear has no fear, and they do not fear man. It's the most crazy thing. As a hunter who's been all over the world, to have an animal that does not fear you is a little bit intimidating. And there's something unique when governments of the world say, in order to hunt the big five in Africa, you have to use a caliber of bullet that is this size or bigger. And to hunt a coastal brown bear, you have to use this caliber of bullet and bigger. So if you're a hunter, you're not allowed to hunt in Africa, the big five. You're not allowed to hunt them without minimum usage of a 375 H&H. That's a bullet. Okay. It's a really big gun. And in Alaska, that's what they recommend you use is a 375 H&H or larger. Think of the world would call these elephant guns, right? To hunt this animal. And so it's really unique, right? So for Zack and I, a few years ago, we set out, it's been about 5 years ago now, we said we really want to go hunt this animal and we want to live with it. You know, it's usually it's really hard to get there. It's really hard to get to their environment and live in their environment. And so we decided we're going to do this. And we have a really good friend in Alaska who has one of the greatest hunting areas for these coastal brown bears in the world. Only 4 people a year, 4 people every 18 months. 4, that's it. Get to go hunt this like 300 square mile area. So it's really highly regulated. 4 hunters every 18 months get to go hunt these animals. And Zack and I were dead set that we wanted to hunt them in the spring. We wanted to hunt them when they came out of hibernation, when they were the most beautiful, the longest coats, and they're just beautiful. So we were lucky enough to have one of our good friends from Rogue Expeditions, Jeremy Rusnick, who he has that area, and we continued to put in there, and we got the tags, right, Zack? We got to go hunt what's called the Kanchekna Wildlife Preserve. It's like 300 square miles of no one lives there, not a soul. For 300 square miles, not a human. I got to think about that. That really is exciting to me, and a little bit exciting to you too, right, Zack?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's so exhilarating to be places where the closest humans are 30,000 feet above you flying over on Delta or American Airlines plane. Right? It's like there's nobody coming to save you. Like you get in trouble, you're just in trouble. Yeah, that's fun.
That for us, it's the adventure, right? So we leave for this hunt, right? You and I leave. We took my son Talon with us, and we leave for this hunt, and we set out. and we fly up like normal. We fly up to Anchorage, no big deal. We fly from Anchorage out to a little tiny fishing village called King Salmon. Describe a little bit about King Salmon, Zach.
2 buildings.
Oh,
Actually, I think there was 2 buildings.
While you're telling that, I'll just share a screen. I will
Yeah,
share the screen.
see if you can find some pictures of it. You fly into this little runway, and it literally is like, I can't remember, Josh, 'cause it's been so long, but there's probably about 20 or 30 people that live there year round. And it's out in the middle of nowhere. And there's like a couple of little buildings. There's 2 restaurants, little tiny restaurants. And then there's these like mini home type deals that you can rent and stay in, right? And it's like, well, there's the restaurant.
By the way, here's the restaurant. But when we talk about mini homes, right? Like, hey, that's what we're talking about. These are real nice establishments, right, Zach?
Yeah. But what's crazy is this is like a major fishing hub. So do you remember the number, Josh? I don't remember, but it's like 30,000 or something like that during the fishing season.
Yeah, during the king salmon season, right? There's trawlers out in the. So by the way, you can see right across the bay. You see Russia, right? Like you're just across the bay from Russia, and
it's only 4 miles, I think.
Yeah, 4 or 5 miles across to Russia, and so during the fishing season, the town has 30,000 people, but the rest of the year there's absolutely no
20.
like 20 or 30 people total for like hundreds of miles in king salmon, and so these are just some pictures of king salmon. By the way, tell people real quick, Zach, up on the screen, like road.
This is the runway.
Yeah, so when you drive a pickup in King Salmon, you actually share the road with what?
With airplanes, with
airplanes.
You got to watch to see if there's any planes coming in because you got to pull over so they can land.
Yeah, and it's real. Like they land right there on the road. This is how they get around, and most people there get around in a small airplane. There's more little airplanes there are trucks. They're not. There's one we had to move out of the way for.
Yeah,
right, like
coming in.
We're like, oh hey, get off the runway quick because he's using the road. Runway. It's really a road. It's the gravel road back to the restaurant. So that's a little bit about King Salmon.
And so tiny fishing village. And by the way, the weather is miserable. It's like 30 to 50 mile an hour winds nonstop.
Yeah, 30 to 50 mile an hour winds nonstop. Little crazy, right? So we get out there to King Salmon. And the plan is, right, that we're going to fly out on the peninsula and we're going to hunt these bears. And it's designed where Zach's going to hunt one area and about, what would you say, 10, 12 miles? I'm going to hunt 10, 12 miles away.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see each other for 10 days. We fly into King Salmon together, but we're going to, then from there, Zach's getting in a little airplane. He's going to go out to a part of the Kamchatka forest. And then me and Town are going to go out to a part of the Kamchatka forest. And then we'll see each other in 10 days. And we'll hunt 10, 12 miles apart of coastline, right? That's kind of the plan. And so we wake up on the 3rd day, like we got rained out. And on the 3rd day, I think, they come in, they're like, hey, get ready, quick. Zach, we're ready to, we got a plane. We're going to fly you out to your spot. Is that kind of what happened, Zach?
Well, yeah. And it's like, so this is the one thing I've learned about Alaska is it is hurry up and wait. Like you have these timelines when you're trying to get in and get out. So when you fly into King Salmon, you're waiting because you're going to get on this little airplane that fits 2 of you and you're going to fly out to the area that you're hunting in, right? But they're going to land on the beach. So there's a couple things that they have to time just perfectly. Number 1, the wind has to be right. You can't have a 50 mile an hour wind and land one of these little airplanes. Like it was just.
And by the way,
50
mile an hour wind is really, really, really normal on the peninsula of Alaska. Like it's more than probably 8 out of 10 days. That's normal.
Yeah, it's kind of the upper end of the Aleutian chain, right? That comes up towards Alaska, those islands that are down there. And so they have to get the weather right. And then the other thing they have to get right is the tide because you're landing on the beach. So if the tide is in and the weather's good, you can't go because there's no place to land. So they have to wait till the tide is out and then fairly, when I say good weather, it's like good enough that you're not going to get beat to death flying over there, right? And so you get in and you think you're flying out now, and they're like, just be on standby. And when they say be on standby, you don't unpack anything. You leave everything packed because at a drop of a hat, all of a sudden, it's like a 5-alarm fire. You have this small window, the beach is good, the weather's good, get in the plane, get out, because it's like a 2-hour flight. And so you got to go. So yeah, I get the call. Hey, you get to the airport. We got to go. We get there. We start throwing stuff in, and the pilot goes, the weather's bad enough that you're too heavy. We got to throw some stuff out. So you have these barrels that you have your food in, and they're like 15-gallon barrels, and they have this ring lock on them, so that when the
bears don't eat it.
Yeah, so when the bears smell the food, right, they can't get into it and get the food. So we're like throwing stuff out of the plane. We get in, we fly out. When we get there, we start unloading everything, and the guide I was with, Hefe is what we called him.
Yeah, we call him a Hefe.
He's like, I got bad news. I'm like, what's the bad news? He's like, so one of the barrels that we threw out, it wasn't marked. That was all of our food. So we're out there now. We have a tent and all this stuff, a couple of little Mountain House meals, and we had a package of tortillas, and we had a half a brick of cheese.
Yeah, you had a half a brick of cheese and a one pack of tortillas.
Yeah, but all the rest of the food is sitting at the airport.
It's sitting with me in the back of a pickup 2 hours away.
Yeah, with no way to get to us because the weather's bad again. I think you had to stay another
3 days.
Full day.
Two more days I had to stay there. Well, I can share that in a second, but it was wild. But yes. So you land, you get your tent set up, and you don't have any food. And at that moment, they tell my son and I, Talon, that hey, they left their food, but we're gonna try and airdrop it to them. We're gonna try and figure something out. But then the weather gets really crazy, and 2 more days go by where you are is fairly nice. Where I am is horrible. So we can't get out. They can't get you the food, and it gets a little chaotic for a minute.
Yeah, and you're trying to communicate on what's called an inReach device, Garmin inReach, and it's like a satellite text, right? But it's delayed. You can send a text, and then it's like 20 minutes later they get it, and the message is jumbled, and they've already sent a message, and so we're trying to communicate, right? Food, need it, and they're like, we'll get it. We're like, we don't even know. We don't even know. Yeah.
To the point, right? We knew we had to get you food. We actually, my son and I, the way it was going to work out is we were gonna hunt off of a boat, off of a charter fishing boat, and we were going to go ashore every day in a Zodiac little pontoon boat and hunt, and then come back and sleep every night on a boat. And Zack was going to stay in a tent 10, 12 miles away from us. And that was the plan, right? That was the plan, because where I was going to hunt, there was no beach, right? And there was no real place to camp. It was all marsh. And so, you don't like to sleep in the water, and you got to have somewhere that's fairly protected from the bears, that you have an escape plan. I mean, these bears are dangerous. Okay. And so when you sleep, you got to have a plan. And so that was our plan. And some wildness happened in the fact that so Zack has no food, and he's got his tent, and he's going to go hunt bears, and we're supposed to get him his food, and I'm supposed to fly out, land on a beach, and then get on a boat, and then live on a boat for 10 days and go to the shore every day. Well,
yeah. And by the way, so you say we set up the tent, right? So yes, we set up a tent that we're going to stay in. And then out of this barrel, the guide pulls out these fiberglass stakes. And then this monofilament wire, right? I'm like, what is this? He's like, it's an electric fence. An electric fence for what? He's like, we're going to put an electric fence around the tent so it'll deter the bears. I come from a ranching background. I've seen a mad cow blow through a 4-strand barbed wire fence like it's nothing, right? I'm like, we're going to put one single strand of barbed wire around the fence, and that's going to deter these brown bears from eating me while I'm laying in the tent at night. Like, this is insanity.
No,
it's insanity.
But they don't seem too worried about it, but they all know someone who's been eaten too. Like every one of your guides and every pilot you've ever met in Alaska, they know someone who's been eaten by a coastal brown bear. So it's just part of their life, their routine.
Yeah, part of the deal.
So in the meantime, right, we get stuck for 2 more days, but then we get word that the boat has had a problem. That the boat had lowered its anchor in the windstorm and had broke off its anchor in the windstorm. So it had no way to hold itself in the ocean. And our friend, the outfitter, Jeremy, says, yeah, I got a real bad way. This anchor's worth like $20,000, and I'm in a bad way. would you guys, you know, I don't know what to do other than, would you guys be willing to help us try and recover the anchor? Well, I mean, we're at their mercy, right? So we say, well, yeah, we don't care. We're stuck here. So we get in the airplane and we fly, instead of going out to where Zack is, we fly about 155 miles away over onto Kodiak Island, and to a place called to Larson Bay. I'll share this for a second. This is where you got to be, you know, luckily we're entrepreneurs. So it's like no big thing if your plans get all changed in the world, right? First of all, I'd share this, right? When you fly out there, I think this is really cool. This is what the mountains look like that you fly over to go out there, right? I think it's really cool, Zack. They call these, I'm going to skip ahead here. Hang on. They call these mountains the land, the actual name of these mountains is called the Land of 1,000 Smokes. Okay. The reason, you see what that is down there?
It's like a little lake.
It looks like a lake on top of the mountain, but what makes lakes on top of mountains?
Volcanoes.
Active volcanoes. Okay. So they call this the Land of 1,000 Smokes because they say there's over 1,000 active volcanoes in the tops of these mountains. Okay. There's one blowing up that day. We're flying right over. We're flying 100 feet above this exploding volcano. I'm sure that doesn't crash airplanes. But, you know, when you look out through the wings, right, this is what that country looks like, right? The Land of 1,000 Smokes is 1,000 volcanoes active, right, with glaciers that are pouring out of them, out into this beautiful, pristine ocean, right, into what's called the Shelikof Strait that divides America from Russia. So that's what it looks like, right? But in the process, we got to fly over and we got to meet the boat in a place called Larson Bay. And this is Larson Bay down there. That's our boat down there, okay, that we're going to go get on. No big deal. We're going to land this little airplane on a little runway on Kodiak Island at Larson Bay, and we're going to go get on that boat. And we're going to go out and we're going to scuba dive in the coldest water in the world, the Arctic Ocean, and try and get the anchor back, okay? In the process, it's a beautiful day. I'll just say this. We land, and before we go to the boat, I'll stop sharing for a second, Zach, but before we go to the boat, really crazy. We land on this little gravel runway, and we got quite a bit of gear, right? We got because we're not supposed to be living off our backpacks. So we got we got our gun case. We got our backpacks. We got all of our tents and gear and sleeping bags and food, bunch of stuff for 3 dudes. Well, we land, there's nobody there. I mean, no one. Right? Nobody hardly lives there, right? There's nobody that lives there. I mean, there's 10 people in that town, and we go, and none of us have ever been there, by the way. We land there, none of us have ever been there. And we go, well, there's one Inuit guy, and we say, hey, how do we get to the bay, to where the harbor is? And he goes, oh, no big deal. Walk that way 4 miles. Oh, cool. Hey, right. anybody around here got a pickup that they could haul this stuff over there? He goes, I don't know. We all have 2 pickups in the area, but I think they're both being used today. So we start walking 4 miles with a backpack, a gun pack, barrels of food, Zach's barrel of food, awkward barrel. You don't get a choice. You just start walking the 4 miles to the harbor. Luckily, when we were about a mile into the 4 miles, one of the 2 pickups from the area is driving down the gravel road. So I'm whistling, I'm yelling, waving my hands. This old 70-year-old Inuit man pulls up in the truck and he says, what do you need? I said, hey, could we get a ride down to the boats, to the harbor? It's not that far. You can walk. Whoa. Any way we could get a ride? We could pay for a ride? He's like, I guess. And he doesn't even really slow down. He keeps going 3 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour. We're just throwing stuff in his truck, and we jump in the back, and he pulls us up there. We go to thank him, but he won't even wait for us to thank him. We get the stuff out. He just drives off, But that's Alaska. You never know. And so we get in this boat, and now we have the most beautiful ride. The first 3 hours, absolutely beautiful. No wind, no nothing. I mean, Zach, I'll share this. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you're seeing, right? Pristine, beautiful. This is the inside of the boat. But as we're pulling out of the harbor, I mean, this is beautiful, okay? Little bit of waves. We're like, hey, this is really cool. I mean, gorgeous. And I'm like, this is awesome, the high life here. Even to the point, right, that everywhere that we look, there are wells. There are humpback wells, there's killer wells, there are in every direction.
Video of the killer wells.
There's killer wells outside the boat. I don't know, we probably saw 150 killer wells, which is pretty awesome if you've never seen one of these things in the wild. There's one coming out of the water, right? Like, I mean, hundreds of them. And I'm thinking, this is pretty sweet. This is just an easy, awesome day. Like, I was stuck before, I couldn't go anywhere. Now I'm like on this boat and I'm going across the Shelikof Strait and it's beautiful. And then Alaska happens, Zach. They say that Shelikof Strait is one of the most deadly water passages in the world. In a matter of 20 minutes, it goes from nice little 3 and 4 foot seas to 20-foot seas in a matter of a half hour. I mean, we're in this massive boat, and all of a sudden, it's like the Titanic. This thing's going to go down. I mean, you go up on top of a wave 25 feet and down 25 feet, and up 25 feet and down 25 feet, and it's insane. And I got to say, Zach, I was with a guy that's a good friend of yours. Dang it. Coda.
Yep. Makota.
Makota. And so Makota's driving the boat and Jeremy's navigating. The seas are 20 feet. And we get over to where the GPS where he thinks he lost the anchor. And it's only 30 feet deep where he lost the anchor. And they're like, hey, Josh, you like boats. You have lots of boats. You drive the boat. This boat's like 80 feet. You drive the boat. Makota's going to put on a wetsuit and some scuba gear. And Jeremy's going to take him out in the Zodiac, the little tiny Zodiac. And we're going to go down and we're going to try and tie a rope onto the anchor, find the anchor in 20-foot seas. Alaskans are tough, right? What do you say about these two guys?
Oh my gosh. Well, Makoto is like, I probably have a picture of him on the boat, but it's like when you meet him, I don't think he's had a haircut with scissors in years. I think he uses a knife to cut it. And he would laugh if he ever saw this episode. He'd be like, yeah, that's true.
That's true.
I actually went sheep hunting with him in 2020, and these guys they're just tough. Like,
tough.
Just
well,
flat
first of
tough.
all, what man thinks I lost this anchor? We got to get the anchor. So you fly in a scuba tank and a wetsuit into the port, and we meet that and we get it, and we're gonna go out there and try and get it. And it was wild, and they tried for hours to get it and couldn't locate it. The seas were too rough, and so instead we just had to drive. You can't park now, or the boat can't park, right? So we drive in circles in the middle of the ocean for 12 hours till the seas calm down, because there's no way that Talon and I can take our gear and come ashore in 20-foot seas without, capsizing it for sure and losing everything, right? So we just drive around in the middle of the ocean in 20-foot seas for 12 hours while we, wait to come ashore. And the whole plan has to change, right?
I've been hunting for 3 days already.
Yeah.
Living on tortillas.
Living on tortilla, waiting for food. So let's talk about, Zach, that's someone that just had to get out to the hunting area. That's just to get out there. What was it when you got there? What was it like to hunt these creatures?
It was actually pretty amazing. I'll share if I can figure this out here.
Yeah.
I'll share just where you're sitting. It's kind of a little bit eerie because you land on the beach, right? And if any of you have ever been to a beach, it's more like an Oregon beach, where you got the beach and then there's kind of a 2 or 3 foot step up, and then you have all this long, tall grass, right? And then there's all this dead wood that's floating around in there. But let me see if I can pull up here. This is the accommodations. Let's see. Had this working a minute ago.
Hit
Share
share
screen here.
Yeah.
All right, so I pull this over. So I'm sitting in this little.
Do me a favor, hey, Zach. I just so you know, I got the black screen, so I think you maybe got a mirror something there.
Yeah, I'm getting it here.
Okay.
So I'm camped kind of like on the bottom of this little bluff, right? You can see this.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you can't see it. Like there's like a faint line right here. That's the bar. That's the going around. There's a little stake right
Oh, that's
there.
gonna save you. That's
That's the
sure
hot
gonna save
wire.
you.
I'm like,
Yeah.
he's just gonna step over it. Like so this is what you're sleeping in, knowing that you have bears that they're all over. Like there's bear crap and there's bear prints on the beach right down below you. So if off towards the moon, right, that's where the ocean is, and then up here on this bluff, it goes up and then it kind of drops back down, and then it's probably like 2 miles across to this big mountain, and like 5 miles up the drainage of just kind of flat. There's like this lake there and all this tall grass, and these bears, they just roam everywhere because right now they've come out of hibernation up in the hill country, right, and they've come out of their dens, and now they're just wandering. But they come down to the ocean quite often because they're looking for, if a walrus has died and or a whale has died and beached on the beach. So they come down quite often to look. And so you get up in the morning and there's a bear walking like 40 feet from in front of your tent, just walking down to the beach. But we would go up and sit on this, and you just glass. Like they say you get fat at bear camp, you get skinny at sheep camp, because at bear camp you don't move a lot because these bears can smell really well. So when you're out there, you don't want to be walking around because 3 days later, wherever you walked, a bear can hit your scent and then they're gone. So you just sit up here and you just glass for hours. And see if I can show you a picture. Oh, this is our water. We had to filter. Okay, so here's our barrels that did not have any food in them. I don't even remember what was in these. I think the electric fence.
I think the electric fence.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, let's protect the electric fence inside of the barrel with a latch on it. Good idea, guys. I think we had some of our sleeping stuff in there. This is the size. I'll just show you. This is a 375 H&H. Look at the size of that caliber. It's bigger than my forearm.
Bigger than the whole gun.
Yeah.
Your little shoulder's gonna get blown in half.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. So this is after we landed, right? So this is actually when you guys beached on. There's a little airplane. Yeah,
a little airplane up there.
This must be when you're flying out. But that's where we landed, is down there on that beach a little farther, and then you just have to hike all your stuff up a little farther. But see if I can find this picture of where we're looking off into the distance. So we would just glass every day. This is.
We'll get to that probably. Oh yeah, that helps. But also, there's one that will show. I got a few pictures. Of that
so this is looking back, back, and there'd be bears. Like, you see this trail right here. This was crazy. See this trail right here? That is not a human trail. That's a bear trail. Like, Josh, it's crazy, isn't it? When you go there, if anybody's ever been in the woods, you see like game trails with deer and stuff. These bears have been roaming this area for thousands of years, and they are so big that these trails are just like a foot down into the dirt, and you can actually see their footprints where they step in the same place every time. And it's like, the land of giants, and these bears are just everywhere. Let me see if I can find this is after
keep going backwards, maybe
putting talon through the ringer.
There you go. Now
here we go. So we can get some. So these are some of the mountains that you see when you're flying over. Here's a couple bears I'll show you. These were just up on the side hill. Sow and a boar.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, that time of year.
Yeah, they were on a date. Okay, here we go. So you just sit up on this knob and you just glass this whole thing, right? And behind you for miles, and you just see bears all over in there. And then they would disappear in these little crevices and these cracks, and like, this is what was crazy is you would see bears clear. I would watch bears come over the top of this peak up here, and then they would slide down like kids. Like, they would put their paws out and then face downhill and then just slide. And then they would stop, get up, run back up, and they would break big chunks of snow off and watch it, and push it, let it roll down. It was really, really neat area. But it was like crazy because, these bears, you'd be sitting here and all of a sudden a bear would pop up over this edge and you'd be looking at each other face to face. You're like, holy cow, they're right there. Just everywhere. It was
just wild. Just wild. You could see 30 bears a day.
It's not very good picture, but
in every direction you could find bears.
They're everywhere.
And, maybe Zach, would you mind telling folks, right? Like,
Here's some caribou.
there's some caribou coming out of winter, all white. Go down and show that one right there of them digging up clams. It's kind of fun to watch a bear.
Yeah, this was
eat
behind.
clams.
I showed you that picture a minute ago behind us across the bay. So this bear, he would come in here and he would just dig up these clams. And look, this is like a big bear. Wasn't big enough that we wanted to shoot him. Here, maybe I'll show if you can see him.
Yeah.
Digging up some clams here. But it's crazy because they would just sit and dig for hours and hours. And they would find these clams and then they would just break them open with their teeth and then eat the muscles out of these clams.
I like clam chowder. Apparently, these coastal brown bears like them too.
Yeah, and this is probably a quarter mile away, across the bay. I think he's laid down, got tired. He's kind of like Josh.
Kind of like me,
You have lunch and you got to go back and take a nap.
You got to take a nap, right? You got to lay down, but get comfortable.
Yeah,
yeah. They're just an amazing creature, right? I always tell people if you ever hunted bears, each bear has its own unique personality, and bears are very playful. They are giants and they'll kill you, right? Like that bear would just knock your head right off in one little swoop. But they're so playful in their nature and what they're like teenage boys. They like to play sometimes, and it's just pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. Yeah. So I'll tell you my experience, and then when Josh shows up.
Yeah.
So we sit up there a couple days eating tortillas. By the way, if anybody who knows me, I'm a little bit picky of an eater.
Not a little bit. You're way picky.
So day one, Hefe throws me this tortilla and some cheese, and I wrap it up, and it's like, okay, cold tortilla, I can do a warm tortilla pretty good. A cold tortilla, that's just gross. And now but it's like warm cheese sticking in this thing. And so I'm like chewing on this thing. It's like 9:00 when he throws it to me. I think by about 2:00, I finally got it down. So we sit here in glass across this lake. A couple of moose came down to the lake to see us. So we're glassing and watching these bears, and you have to try to figure out, what's a big bear, what's not a big bear, right? What bear are you going to go after? What bear are you not going to go after? Because you don't want to go out there and chase a bear and then all of a sudden be like, it's not the bear we're looking for. It's not big enough. And then get your scent all over the place and then not have these bears come back in. So I think it was like day 2. We had the weather cooperated actually beautifully for us. The wind died down a little bit. It was only blowing like 25, 30 miles an hour, but the sun was out. So it wasn't super cold. And these bears would just come out in the sun and they were just everywhere. Look, here's Haircut Boy. There's Makoto.
Yep.
The man of man. That's Jeremy Rusink. But this was my view for a couple days. Like you just sit here and glass these bears. So this is actually where I shot my bear. So I'm clear back over here to the right. You remember, you can see this in the background when I was showing you where we would glass from. But we spotted this bear, and he was on the other side of this lake, and we didn't know if he was big enough bear. We thought maybe it was big enough bear, so we took off, went out there, got across the lake, and then we were trying to get on him, and he kept changing directions. But we had to get around this lake to his side, and so he was going this way, so we just take off running down the lake, trying to get around the lake on the other side, and all of a sudden he turns around, comes back the other way, so we got to come back around, and it's not easy walking out there, by the way, because it's like marshy and these big mounds in the grass, and so it's not very easy to get around. And so we come around the other side of the lake, and we think we've pretty well gotten to where we've got a good look at him. We decided he doesn't have the best coat. He'd been rubbing a little bit, but he was big enough bear for me. And so we decided that we're going to go ahead and take this bear. And now we just got to get close enough. But he's still across the lake. So we're watching him, and he's going the direction we want, like beautifully, right where we want him to go. So we start beelining around the side of this lake. We're going to cut him off. Well, all of a sudden he stops, and he just like got his ears pinned forward, and he's just staring. And we're like, what is he staring at? And then the caribou that I showed you a minute ago, they walk out into this little opening, and then he takes off and starts chasing these caribou. And now we're like, great, the plan is, it's over. We're not going to get this bear. Well, he must have been a little tired because he lasted about 2 minutes on the chase, and then he quit chasing him and started going the same direction. So we finally get around this other side of the lake, but there's all these tall willows, and the grass is taller out there than you think it is. And so you lose sight of this bear. But now remember, you've been sitting on this little peninsula watching all out through here, right? And you've gone, oh, there's a bear, and then it walks over here and disappears. And you're like, oh, there's a bear. So you've seen like 30 bears out here in this area. And now you're out walking around in all the willows where these bears were that you've seen, knowing that all these bears are still out there, and you're trying to get that bear. So you got your head on the swivel. You're trying to hear to see if there's bears in the willows next to you, or if anything's coming at you, but you're still trying to keep your eye on this bear. So we finally circle around, and the bear is supposed to come through this little spot. Well, we get all set up perfectly. We're like, this is going to be great. He's going to walk right through here. Nothing. Bear doesn't come through. We're like, well, there's only two ways he can go. He can either come behind us in the willows with us, or he's in the next set of willows in front of us. So we got to make a decision of like, okay, do we go or do we not go? Well, the timing should have put the bear and us at the same place at the same time, the pace he was walking. So now it's like, okay, either he's going to walk up on us in the willows. So if we stay here, we're in trouble, or he's in the willow patch in front of us about 50 yards. And if we jump in there, we're probably going to be right on top of him. We're in trouble. So we're sitting there trying to figure out what to do. And all of a sudden I see him pop out the other side of the willows. So the chase is back on again. Well, we take off and go back up over this peninsula where we'd seen actually a sow earlier that had been chasing another boar. So we're like, well, she's ticked off. We don't want to run into her. So we get up on top of this little peninsula, and this other bear walks down below us. And so now we've got to watch this bear. So I'm watching this bear to make sure it doesn't circle back on us. And then Hefe is trying to watch to see where the bear that we want to take is coming. Well, this bear finally leaves and goes down the canyon far enough that we're comfortable that we can stop watching this bear. So we get all set up. We're waiting for this bear to come through, and it finally comes out of these willows, and it's like 200 yards away. And Hefe's like, yeah, it's too far. We got to get closer. I'm like, 200 yards? I can shoot 200. He's like, no, none of these guns won't kill him that far away. You got to be closer. I'm like, look, there's no way to get closer to this bear because he'd kind of gotten up on the hillside and we were out of cover. So if we'd have moved any farther, now all of a sudden he was going to see us and either eat us or he was going to run away. And neither of those options were options that we wanted. So I convinced him, like, look, I'm telling you, this rifle will do it. Like I've shot it 200 yards. It's accurate. I can hit where I'm shooting. He's like, it'll never go through him. Like, you that won't kill him. Like, I promise it'll kill him. So he's like, okay, fine. You can do it. So we lay down there. The bear comes out. I shoot. It's a perfect hit. Bear turns, and like, it's crazy because these bears are on the attack all the time. They're like looking for something to beat up. So as soon as I shoot and that bullet hits, he like spins around and starts like biting at and clawing at where the bullet impacted, right? And then he gets up, takes off, and now he runs over into this little creek, disappears into these willows. So I'm like, sweet, we got him. Let's go get him. So I start packing up my stuff, and he's like, dude, do you like have a death wish? I'm like, well, no, but it's a dead bear. He's like, that is not a dead bear. He says, I've seen these bears chew up like 4 or 5 bullets. We are not going in there for like an hour. Okay. We just explained how long it takes to get in here. I'm eating tortillas and cheese. I'm like, let's just get the bear and get back and eat some real food. And he's like, no, we're going to wait for an hour. So we sit and wait for an hour. Bear doesn't come out, so we're pretty convinced it's dead. So we go in there. Sure enough, the bear is dead, laying in this creek. And it took us another hour with the two of us trying to get this bear out of the creek so that we could take care of him. But this is so let me just show. I'm going to show you something real quick for perspective, okay? Because you got all the. Let me show you this. I just ran into this when I was scrolling through these pictures. This was a bear hunt that I had guided earlier that spring. So this is a brown bear. Okay, so that's about a 5.5, 6 foot brown bear. Okay. A black bear.
Yeah, black
So
bear.
just to give you some reference, okay, this is a big bear for Idaho. Now let's go up here after an hour of waiting to see what we'd done. This is, I mean, look at that. That is a brown bear, right? That thing is huge. I mean, they're just ginormous. Look at this. I mean, they're just, look at the feet on these things. It was laying in that creek. We had to roll it up out of there.
1,200 pounds. That was all.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Look at that. Look at the paws on this thing. That is death in one swipe. Like you're just not going to survive that, right? So we finally got him taken care of. Put him on a pack. Oh, this is a beast. Look at this bear. That's probably a 10-foot bear. Just look at his fat. How he just rolls when he walks.
When he walks, he just jiggles. Look at that, jiggly.
Big old bear. Yeah. So we get him back to camp. Okay. Now while we've been doing this, by the way, we've been getting messages of, hey, we're going to fly food into you. But we haven't heard an airplane come in, and Hefe gets this message that says that they've dropped a food barrel. Well, I'm hungry, so we get the bear taken care of, get it back in the pack. Just the hide and the head on this thing probably weighs 150 pounds. And so we finally get back to camp, and the guides start taking care of the bear, skinning, taking all the fat off, and turning the lips and ears and all the stuff, right? So I just tell him, like, hey, while you're doing that, I'm going to walk down to the beach, and I'm going to go see if the barrel's there. So I grab, so his gun was closest to me. So he throws me his gun. It was a 416 Rigby. There was an old wood 416 Rigby, which is bigger than the rifle that I'm shooting in caliber. The rifle's actually smaller and lighter. And then it has, like, on the butt stock, it has metal, right? Mine has a big rubber pad on it. It's called a pansy pad. So I grab this rifle, okay? So I go down to the beach and I start looking for this barrel. Well, I don't see it. Well, I look way down about 200-300 yards, and there's this little cliff inlet, and I can see something that looks blue down at the bottom of it. And remember, the wind blows like 30 to 50 miles an hour all the time. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe they dropped it off. We didn't hear the airplane because of the wind, and that barrel has now rolled down the beach. The wind's blowing it down the beach, right? So I start walking down there a little ways. I'm like, I'm just going to go back 150 yards. I'm going to go back to camp, grab my binoculars, and I'll just look at my binoculars, see if it's it. So I start walking back towards the camp. And you know how you get that? Have you ever had that feeling, Josh, when you're walking in the woods, you're like, something is watching me?
Yeah, only with bears and wolves.
Like that sixth sense that you're like, something is not right.
Something's hunting me now. I can feel it.
So I stop and I turn around. Okay, now we've had training. We've been trained on what to do if a bear chases you. Okay, so
yeah, they gave us the training course.
Yeah. So I stop, right, and I turn around and I look, and there is this 8-foot, 9-foot bear on the beach down by this object that I'm looking at, and it's walking towards me. I'm like, okay, that's not great. Well, then it starts to kind of trot. So now I'm like, well, I really don't want this bear to come up on me while I'm trying to get back to camp to get my binoculars. So I do the thing that they say to do, and that is to get really big, stand up tall, and then just wave your arms and go, hey bear, hey bear, hey bear, right? Okay, I'm 5'5". How do you get really big when you're 5'5" and 150 pounds? Like, I probably look like a baby seal flopping, injured on the beach going, hey bear, right? So he stops as I'm yelling at him. He stops. He stands up, looks at me, and then gets down on all fours and then just takes off running towards me. Well, now I got a decision, right? And by the way, you never run from a bear. You're not going to outrun him. So no. I'm looking at this rifle thinking, if I shoot this rifle, it is going to knock me out and knock me on my butt, and the bear's going to eat me for sure. So I'm like, I'm taking my chances. So I take off running to camp. I'm like, I'm going to outrun this bear. So I take off running to camp. So I'm like, I'm going to get my rifle that I know I can shoot. So I climb up on the grassy knob. I take off running. Well, I get to camp. Just as I get to camp, my guide Hefe is now at camp, and he's like, dude, why are you breathing so heavy? I hand him the gun, and I grab my gun. And he goes, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making this a fair fight. And he's, what are you talking about? I'm like, there is a bear chasing me down the beach. He's like, there's no bear chasing you down the beach. I'm like, well, I'm not waiting for him to get to camp. So I start walking back out there because I'm going to try to head this bear off and either scare it away or I'm going to have to shoot the bear because we don't want it in camp. Well, he's like, Zach, there's no bear chasing you. I'm like, whatever, you can stay in camp if you want. So I start walking back out there. I get just to the grassy area, and I'm like, he was just going to be right here. We walk over the grassy area, and like 20 feet on the other side of it, sure enough, he's on my tracks, sniffing, following my tracks all the way to camp. And Hefe's now like, hey bear. And now he's big, right? He can get big. I can't get big. And so now he's like, holy crap, there is a bear. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. He was coming to eat me. And so we start yelling, and this bear like stands up and looks at us. And now it's like, when they stand up and they look at you, they look 20 times bigger, right? I mean, it's like huge. And so both of us have got our rifles up now. Like, we don't want to shoot the bear, but if it comes after us, we're going to have to shoot the bear. And after the standoff for a couple minutes, it finally gets down, turns around, and walks off. And Hefe turns to me and he goes, dude, that's just a juvenile bear. That's not that big of a bear. I'm like, it is a big bear to me. To a guy that's 5'5", that is a really big bear. So there was no food, no barrel, right? But so the bear takes off. We go back to camp and start skinning up. And then Josh finally gets to start hunting.
Yeah. Well, the next day we know you shot the bear. So we decided, hey, we're going to come in and we're going to join Zack in camp. We've been circling out in the ocean because we don't have an anchor. We've been just circling in a circle. And we decide we're going to go join him. And once we do that, we come ashore, find Zack. We brought him food. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yes,
I was like DoorDash in Alaska. DoorDashed him some real food. So we could eat.
By the way, Josh has been eating steak and crab.
Oh yeah, I've been eating steak
Right.
and crab and lobsters.
I'm eating tortillas and cheese.
Hey, somebody's got to do it, right? I mean, somebody's got to do it. I'm smart enough to stay with the food truck, then leave the food barrel, right? It's just how it is. So we go, we get out there. We decide we're going to go hunting, right? And by this point now, Zack and Hefe, they've seen all these bears, so they know they got them all named. And we start hunting bears, and it's kind of fun because as we start to hunt these bears, I'm going to show you some pictures here. This is, we're having this beautiful day. We're up there just watching up here in these cliffs. We're watching for the bears. And the bears are just living up in these cliffs, right?
Which is wild.
It's just wild to see a bear live up in
I didn't never imagine there would be bears up there. Ever in the cliffs.
I wouldn't either, but there's bears up in there, right? We're watching them wake up. We're watching them come out of their caves up there. If you look up there in this slide right here, that's made by a bear coming out of a cave up here and sliding down for fun, right? And then hanging out in the rocks. I mean, and so this is what we're looking at, right? We're just having a good time. There's a bear right there in the middle, right? No kidding around. There he is, hanging out in those cliffs over there, right? Which just is wild to see, watching bears in cliffs. It kind of gives you a sound of the wind, right? 50-mile-an-hour wind, and that bear's just standing up on there like he's a rock chunk. But that's what they do.
And these bears these sows have cubs right now in the spring, right? And what we learned is the reason that they're up there is those are sows, and she's got 2 cubs that are up there in the flat, and there's boars, male bears that are near her that are trying to find her because it's mating season. And so she's hiding her cubs from the males because the males will come in and they will kill the cubs to get rid of that genetic and to get her to go back and cycle so that the boar can breed her. It's vicious out there.
It's vicious wild. It's wild America, okay? So this is, looking around here. We did find this bear. I was going to show him, Zack. We were watching this one bear. This is a really cool bear, right? We're watching this little young bear. Beautiful hide. It's out there just playing in the river. Beautiful little thing. It's real windy. So we decided, hey, let's just for fun, let's go see the bear, right? And so we get over and we're just watching this bear, watch it from a mile away until now it's at like 100 yards away. And until then it becomes where it's like, it decides to come all the way to 20 feet from us. And so we've been watching it for an hour, right? But just a beautiful blonde young bear, right? We wouldn't hunt this bear. It's young. But it was so fun to watch this thing, like the wildness of it come right into us to the point where it came right. This bear is now at 20 yards from us. And we're trying the trick, hey bear, and it's like, oh, hey, you guys are right there, and decides to. That's a young bear, 3-year-old bear. But that's kind of some of the things, right? The experiences we have the first day while we're looking at these bears, until we find this bear that we want to go hunt. We find these bears out there.
Go back real quick to the beach scene.
Right here.
This is where one more back. Yep, right there.
Oh.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. Okay, so this is where Zack Davis almost died.
Right down here is where he thought there was a blue barrel.
Yeah, and then I'm walking down to that beach, and that bear came running all the way down that beach after me. That is the scene. That is the scene right there of the crime.
Almost where you got eaten by a bear.
Yep.
And we wouldn't have known. Would have been fine. But so we have these bears. Well, all of a sudden, Zach and I over here on this mountain, at the top of this snow-covered mountain, we find this bear that we want to hunt, and he slides down the snow. We watch him for all day. We watch him chase some girlfriends around, find a girlfriend, do what big bears do when they find a girlfriend, and to the point after he finds his girlfriend and he does what boyfriends do with girlfriends that are bears, he decides to take a nap. And so we got to make a decision. What would you say? 2.5, 3 miles across there, Zach, probably?
Yeah. Yep.
A couple miles, 2.5, 3 miles across. Well, over here right where the snow ends, this bear that we really want to go hunt has decided to take a nap. He's decided to take a nap. And we decided, hey, if we can hike over there, we think we can get over there. We think we can get within maybe 200 yards of him. We could hunt him, maybe shoot him. So we head out to do that, right? We leave Zach back. It's really windy, so we leave Zach back 2 miles away because we might need somebody to stand up and like wave their arms that, hey, go left, hey, go right, hey, he's right in front of you. Give us the Indian signals, in our binoculars. So we leave Zach back there, and we head out, my son and I and Hefe, and we start our 3-mile hike across this marsh and around this lake. Halfway across, we run into a bear that decides that we're like, uh-oh, that bear's really close to us. We don't want to shoot that bear, but that bear is hungry, just woke up. It kind of wants to have dinner. We look like dinner. Luckily, he doesn't decide to eat us. It's another bear, right? And so we get over there, and this is kind of interesting. So in the process of climbing to this bear, we know we're getting close, Zach. We know we're getting close to it. We know where it's supposed to be asleep. We get to the spot we think we could shoot from, only to find out that the contour of the hill makes it so there's no way we can see the bear.
And I'm watching through my spotting scope, right? And I'm trying to give I've got half my clothes off because I'm trying to use them as this. And then I'm like, stop. You're right. Stop. I mean, I'm watching these guys. I'm like, they are right on top of this bear and they can't see it. Like if they take another 5 steps, they're going to be stepping on him.
Yeah. We just can't see him. Right. So we know we make the decision. We're like, we now know we can't see him where we think we are, but we got to hike a little higher on the hill. But we know at that point, we know when we get to that spot, we're going to be within 30 to 40 yards of where he's asleep. And we still don't know if we can see him when we get there, but we know we're going to be 30 to 40 yards from him. So we keep hiking. When we get within where we know we're really close, 40 yards. By the way, 40 yards is nothing, right? I don't know if you know this, like the NFL Combine, they do this thing called the 40-yard dash. And we time humans to see how fast they are. And a human can get there in 4 seconds. These bears can get there in 2.5 seconds. They can cover 40 yards. So they're twice as fast as any human that's ever ran in the Olympics. And so right before we get to that spot where I've got the gun up, I'm ready just in case we can't see the bear yet. El Jefe turns to me and he says, man, I know you and Zach are crazy, but this is about to get really Western. I hope you're good with that rifle. Because he's putting his life in my hands. He knows we're within 2 seconds. Like literally when we get to the bear, if the bear decides to come at us, we've got 2 seconds, 1,001, 1,002, and he'll be on us. Like that's the reality. And, he's put a lot of trust in us. Well, we do that, right? We go the 2 seconds, only to find the bear. And, I was going to see maybe if this,
I think, yeah, you have a video of it.
Oh, that's a different one. I don't have that. It's not this one.
Dead bear.
Nope. It's on a different. I'd have to find it. It's somewhere else. But I got to get
I think that was after you shot the bear.
Yeah.
Sal
we'll have to find the
kept trying to come back.
Yeah. So we have the bear. I'll stop sharing for 2 seconds and tell this. It's kind of crazy, right? So this bear We get there. The bear stands up. The bear is 41 yards from us. And so I level my rifle. He's 41 yards. I shoot the bear right in the chest. The bear stands up 10 feet tall and scratches its chest where I just shot it. Like it was nothing. Like it was a bee sting. Like a horsefly just bit it. Scratches itself. I shoot him again. He runs off. And I think, well, that's awesome. And he isn't going down, so I shoot him again. 3 times at this point through his chest with a bullet that's bigger than my entire hand, the bullet. He lays down. We think it's all over, right? Woo! Hooping and hollering. My son's excited. I'm excited. Hefe's excited. Zack's over there jumping up and down 2 miles away. We can see him in the binoculars. And then this bear's girlfriend goes over and nudges him. And it's like the saddest thing, really. And he's like, he gets back up because a woman, his girlfriend, nudges him. He gets up and he decides he's going to come at us. Now we're about 100 yards away and we have to shoot him the last time. But just a majestic, unbelievable animal, right? With an unbelievable amount of power and energy. And so I don't want to show you some of these because some of these are kind of bloody. And I don't want people who think we're gory and all these things, right? It just so happens that these bears are big, and when they die, they're kind of bloody. So it kind of gives you an idea of how big these bears are, right? That's the bear, right? This is me and Hefe, kind of give you an idea how long he is, how big he is, right? I mean, I'm not a small man. Zach's a small man. I'm not a really small man, right? But what a 10-foot bear looks like, right? When you're next to them, they're massive, massive creatures. They're 1,200 pounds, 10 feet long, just unbelievable big animals. And once you're up close to one, right? Like that paw, right? My chest is a couple feet wide. They're just massive animals. But there's some things that happened after that, right? That are tremendous to me. We decide we got to get this bear back. By this point, we've made this game plan that we don't want to go back across the marsh with this bear. It was too hard. It was too wet. So we're going to walk about 5 miles around. We're going to go walk over to the beach and walk the beach 4 miles back to the camp. And by the way, one of the reasons why you have children in the world is so that they can be your slaves. No, that's not true. But my son Talon was good enough. He's like, Dad, I got you. He actually said, you're getting old. I got you. I'm going to carry the bear for you back out. It's 150 to 180 pounds is what just the hide and the skull. And you got to keep it all together, right? Because we want to make this big, cool rug. So it's 180 pounds on your back. And there he is out in front of us. He's going to pack it back over to this beach in the distance and then around the beach to camp. But as you're going around there, right, it's just some of the most beautiful country. I want to take some pictures. This is some of those trails Zach was talking about. That's a print. These are, there's an oil tanker out there in the middle of the ocean, by the way. That's Alaska on the other, that's Russia in the distance. Just right there. That's Russia. But just some beautiful, beautiful places, right? This walk back to me, Zach, was just majestic, right? Like,
oh, it was gorgeous.
It was better. Yeah, it was better because you and I didn't have the pack on, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But we're walking around I'll never forget this, right? I'll never forget this 4-mile hike around the beach. And beach is a relative term. It's all pure rock, right? But these giant boulders. And by the way, you're going to see what it looks like when a young man's under strain because of a 180-pound pack, right?
He was struggling.
That's what it looks like.
You living?
Right?
Making it. 180 pounds or so on your back. That's a good deal.
I'm making it.
Zach down here by the ocean.
Baby. I've been all over this world. Like this really was a absolutely gorgeous scene. These places are like surreal to me. The ocean was completely calm. The wind stopped. The moon came out. By this point, it's midnight. Like what you don't realize in life, this is midnight-ish, right? Like on a full moon night with the sun still up. So to have the moon and the sun up at the same time in this surreal place, right? These giant boulder fields of smooth rock with the ocean and knowing you're just in the land of giants. It really was, to me, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I'll never forget this place on earth because it was so breathtakingly beautiful. This is a unique, Zack snapped this photo, and I'm so glad I have it, right? This is my son. We're about halfway through the journey to get the bear back to camp. He is beyond exhausted, right?
He's whipped.
He's whipped. He's whipped. And this is twofold, right? Like as a dad, I'm trying to encourage him. I'm thanking him. I'm encouraging him. I sure as heck don't want him to give me the pack at this moment. I don't want him to give up. And so I'm just trying to coach him. I'm just trying to encourage him to keep going for self-preservation, but also, right, there's something about doing something extremely difficult, right? I can't tell you how difficult this task is, walking through these slick, moss-filled boulders with a 180-pound pack. But I love this picture, right? It reminds me of what hard things are like. And Zack, like what? Before I move on, like what was your impression when we hadn't seen this part of the ocean? By the way, like we made this journey around this way, and we hadn't seen this part of the area until we got there. We thought it was going to be an easy beach hike out, and we got there, and it's all this. And the tide's coming in, and like what were your impressions that night walking around that?
You know, it's almost like time stands still. You know, our world is so hectic, and the phone calls and the text messages and the emails, and everybody needs you. Like so there's like all this stuff always going on, and you never get to stop and just sort of take a break. And this was one of those moments for me. It was kind of like you walking around. It just, every rock caught my attention, and it was like I would never notice that rock before, right? But then I'd be like, that is a really cool shaped rock, or the way the shadows were being cast on the mountain and across the ocean. It was magical for me, because it really was like this serene, quiet, calm, no noise, no phones, just with your friends and the people that you love. And it was just this, it really was like this magical moment where time felt like it just stood still, and you could almost feel like the last 1,000 years of this island is just this, right? Where nothing happens. Bears just roam, caribou are walking around, the elk or the moose are kicking around.
Packing the bear out through.
It's just like, it was amazing. And I will say too, at this pretty close to this point, I was feeling really bad for Talon, because the rocks were slick and he'd fallen down a few times down on his back, and we had to help roll him over and get him back up. But I was proud of him. How old was Talon at this time?
He just got home off of a mission. He'd just been a missionary in the Dominican Republic, and he was 21 years old.
Yeah. So, you know, and there was a moment where I felt bad for him, and I asked him. I said, "Talon, do you want me to take the pack?" And he looked at me like this look of like, "Would you really take this moment from me? Like, I'm going to finish this job," right? It was kind of a cool experience, because it was like, you know, a young man coming into being a man was like, "No, I'm going to do this hard thing, and I'm going to finish it out. Don't take this opportunity from me to do this really hard thing and have this, you know, satisfaction of accomplishing it." So it was a neat experience. It really was.
It was neat. It really was. And it was an amazing, like, it's a night that I'll never forget. Not about the bear, not about harvesting the bear, but just the hike out. And I mean, to be in a place where it says right now 10:09, you know, local time, and it was crystal clear outside, right? But the moon and the sun up, and just this beautiful experience, you know, and that's what it's really all about to me, is these opportunities. I mean, to do these crazy things and be in these most beautiful places on earth where no other humans are. Like four people every 18 months get to step foot within a 300-mile radius of this area to hunt. And it, to me, it's not forgotten on me how special it is to go to these kind of places and do these kind of activities and do these kind of things and see things like the moon coming up over the Shelikof Strait on a calm day, which is just very rarely ever happens. And knowing that, right, to just take it in and realize that that we're there. That's the end of the journey. We made it back to camp. That was when he first got to take off. He never took the pack off for like 4 hours until right there. And yeah, it's a beautiful place. And we don't, Zach, I'd love as we kind of wrap up today. We don't share these things. They're not to us about hunting. They're not about killing animals. What is it about these adventures that why do you love the adventures so much? Why do we love these things in our life?
It's an extension of what we do in business, right? We try to conquer the most difficult problems and disrupt industries and try to change things to make it better for ourselves and for the world and other people. And for me, like you said it, and it's not about killing the animal. Like the reality is, they manage this place very well, and they give a certain amount of tags out because there is no natural predator for these bears. And if they don't manage them, then these bears get disease, and then it wipes them all out and they all die because there's too many of them. So it is, it's preservation is what and conservation is really what they're doing on this island. And so to be able to be a part of that, and by the way, to be able to be blessed enough financially to be able to go do that, because it's not cheap to go to do that and have that experience, but it really is about the places that these animals take you. Like it's just wild. And the challenge to see, can I do this? Am I physically up to the challenge of doing this? And am I mentally up to the challenge of doing this? And then I think the thing that's the most important for me is I've been on a few of these where I went alone, and it's just different. When you're with people that you like and you're with your friends, and people that you do life with, it's that experience that binds those relationships. And it really is about the relationships and going and doing those things and sharing those moments with other people. Like the memories of the ones that I've done on my own, they're locked in there, right? And it's great, but there's nobody to share it with. And Josh and I can have this experience, and we can talk about this trip, and there's this whole flood of memories that comes back and emotions that you feel that none of you get to feel, right? It's like, it's that you're hearing us tell a story, and maybe it's cool, maybe it's not. But for us, it's like those emotions are there and they come back, and it's the people that you shared it with that you got to be with. So it's an amazing experience.
And I'm with you, Zach. I think for us, right, we share this on the podcast because we want all entrepreneurs. We want all people out there. Our hobby, we have lots of hobbies, but one of them is hunting. And I really believe that every entrepreneur needs hobbies they love. They need things that they're excited about, that they push towards, that stretch them. We've talked about this before, that you need things that you'll work really hard for in this world. Because the businesses we start and the things that we do in this world are hard, and you got to have a good reason why you do them. And so for us, one of those reasons is hunting. We love it, and we love the experience. And what I do love is the ability to go throughout the world and do it. And what you said is really true. It's really amazing when you could do it with like-minded people that you enjoy to be with. And so for me, this trip was a once in a lifetime trip with you and with my son, and just to be there, and the laughter, the spirit, the excitement, the camaraderie. When we see the animals, when we see the pictures, it's special. I'm going to hit a join button. I'm going to join on my phone for a second. Oh, I got to do something.
Here, while you're doing that, I'm going to show. So just to give you some perspective, this is a brown bear. Okay, this is about a 10-foot bear. This is a black bear. This is a 6-foot black bear. Okay, this is what we hunt in the West. Look at the difference between the size of these two bears.
Yeah, not even close.
Look at the
I'm gonna do this for a second.
On these things.
I'm gonna take this.
Yeah, show me your
you're gonna have to talk loud, but this is I'm on my phone for a second. This is the brown bear. I keep it in my office, right? I like to keep him up here. I like to come pet him and touch him, right? He's up here. He's beautiful. Every time I see him, every day, there's his teeth. I'm reminded of that experience. he takes up the whole wall. He's 10 feet long. He's 10 feet wide. He takes up a big space of a wall inside the office. And so it's pretty special for us. So,
yeah, it was a good trip.
It was a good trip. And I just say this in closing, right? That we've chosen in life that in order to conquer in business, we got to find things that we want to conquer for fun. And for us, we conquer hunting, motorcycles, in all their varieties, snow bikes, adventure bikes, dirt bikes. But we love to conquer, right? And if you're not doing those things, if you're not out there conquering, I would say pick a hobby. It could be golf. It could be pickleball. I don't care. Just pick something that you can try and reach a pinnacle in, that you can strive to reach the highest echelons. If you're a hunter, for any of the hunters listening, hey, we've talked about some of our sheep hunts. We've talked about our brown bear. We'll talk one of these days about a wild adventure we had in Kyrgyzstan. I mean, wild.
One of those.
Beyond wild. Well, yeah, one of those, but just insane hunt. More of the experience was just beyond craziness. But we choose to do those things because for us, they're an opportunity to find out if we can do it, right? To find out, to go out there and to sneak within 40 yards of an animal that can absolutely kill you before you can say 1,000, 1,002. There's something about that for us. Now, for you, it may be, they're listening, it may be trying to break 80 in golf, trying to break 75 in golf. It may be, you name it, right? Your activity. But you ought to pick something that you care enough about and you want to get good at or you want to experience to do in this world. And then you should take a little piece of your money at least. I believe that everybody should take 10% of what they earn and they should spend it on their hobbies. That's what I believe, right? That's a principle that was beat into me by my grandfather and by some of his mentors, that in order to be really happy in this world, you ought to take 10% of everything you earn and go do what you want. Now, if you have a hobby, hey, that bear costs a lot of money to go hunt. That means if you're going to take 10% and go hunt him, you better go make a bunch of money so that you can afford to do that, right? That's how I look at the world. And for me, it's served me very well in business and in life and great balance. And so, Zach, you get to share the last word today.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Josh. I think everybody ought to have something to do, not only that they're trying to do for fun to conquer, but also just as a release. I mean, you can't just focus on work all the time. And you can't just have your head down and grind all the time. You hear all these influencers, are like, oh, you just got to grind. Nobody sees the grind. They only see the shine. Just get your head down and go, go, go. Well, yeah, you can do that for short periods of time, but you'll burn out. Like, you have to have things that you can go do to get that release. And you got to go do it with people you like. I mean, we go snow bike and we go dirt bike and you have a bad day at work, and not even a bad day at work, just stressful, like you're just trying to conquer these problems. And you get out there and it's like whiskey throttle and you're just giggling in your helmet, knowing around the next corner is probably where you're going to pile it up because you're going way faster than you should be. But it's just that like adrenaline release, that you got to get out. And I think if you're going to win at a high level in life, you got to play at a high level too. Like you got to play just as hard as you work, or your work will become meaningless to you. Even if you love it, you still got to go do those things. So I agree with you 100%. And I think everybody on here ought to have good friends that they go do those things with, right? In those relationships. Because again, I'm going to go so I have a hunt this fall. Honestly, I'm not that excited for it. I'm doing it because it's a goal. I want to get my Grand Slam, which is 4 of the North American sheep, but I'm going alone, right? I'm already like, I really don't want to go because it's not about just going and killing something. It's about being with people that you like. So you got to have those relationships supported. Yeah.
Well, you guys are awesome. We'll see you next week on the Sound Money, Sound Principles podcast. It's been our pleasure to be with you this week, and can't wait to be with you next time. So see you later. Everybody have a great week.
See you guys.